That is the hardest part of that ring.
For the hardest part of the ring.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the hardest part of the ring.
Hello and welcome to episode 133 of Hardest Part of the Ring, the podcast where three friends get together to celebrate the wonder of professional wrestling. My name is Sam, and I'm joined today by John.
Hello.
Hey John, what's your favourite thing about Adam?
I like... Come back to me.
Okay. I'm also joined by Brett. Hey
Yes,
Brett.
it's me, and obviously because Sam's talking first, it shows that I am here. I'm not the missing one.
Yeah.
We very much have the horsemen. We do horsemen this podcast, don't we? There's four of us, but it could be any three.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, the thing is that Adam has left the door unlocked. He's gone out to get some milk, and the inmates have closed the door behind him and have decided to record a podcast without him. So yes, I am not Adam. What did we have a favourite thing about Adam, or a least favourite thing, either or?
My favourite thing about him is how organised he is, because this really wouldn't be happening if he wasn't as organised as he is.
True.
Even though he's not on this pod, I feel like his hand is on our shoulders.
Yeah,
it's true.
The breath is breathing down our neck.
Indeed. Yeah, I like the pressure I always feel, knowing that if I mess up, I'll have an angry text in the morning. And that helps me drive this podcast today as I take the reins and host. Adam is not with us, as by now is very apparent. He has run off to Tuesday nights to join Impact with our title belt. So there's that. Quick bit of admin for you, Adam. Last podcast, The Undertaking, Volume 6.
Great.
Absolute banger.
Great episode. Enjoyed that a lot.
It's in our top 6 episodes of The Undertaking ever made.
Scrapes in there, though, doesn't it? Just scrapes in.
Yeah. This podcast is NXT adjacent, NXT WarGames. But before that, a little bit of extras. We got... poor Pat Patterson has passed away.
I feel this slipped me by. I didn't realise he died until the other day.
Yeah, it's a shame because it's kind of, you never want to see someone pass away. And I know there was a lot of kind of dodgy rumours and kind of stuff around him, so we're not gonna kind of overly embellish this. It's just kind of, obviously quite an influential figure in the wrestling lexicon, and of course one of the first openly gay wrestlers as well. It's
like what I think it was you that was saying, Sam, about The Undertaker, about how he's always been ever present since you've been watching wrestling. Same with Pat Patterson. He's always been there, sort of running WWE and sort of dealing with all that stuff in the background for all the time we've been watching wrestling, and way beyond that as well.
Of course. It's he... How old was he? I don't think he was that old.
I can't remember, but they got rid of him, didn't they? Didn't they get rid of him during the furlough stuff?
Definitely got rid of Gerald Briscoe, who was a palette swap of Pat Patterson.
There would always be both of those two in the ring, weren't they, doing some awful crap.
Yeah, for sure. They were kind of like the henchmen, weren't they, for Vince?
Yeah.
Right. 79. It's a good innings, that.
Disappointing not to go on, get a ton, right? That's 79.
Yeah. But, so Pat Patterson has passed. That's a lot of P's in a sentence. Not the most respectful thing I could have said, I guess. We're going to move on from that. And just quickly talk about everyone's favourite thing. AEW, spoilers. Are we ready for spoilers of AEW?
Yeah, I suppose if you haven't watched last week's episode, skip forward a few minutes.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to give you 5 or 6 seconds, and yeah. Okay, so
Bloody
Kenny
hell.
Omega. It's a fast 5 or 6. Kenny Omega, big old heel turn, AEW champion, and has taking his title to Impact Wrestling.
No, yeah. See, I missed that, so I'm guessing it's spoiled, but I don't mind.
Go back and watch it, bro. It's great.
Well, I know they bloody ITV. I don't know why they haven't not put it on the hub.
Really, it doesn't usually drop until like Friday, doesn't it? I think Friday.
I thought it was Sundays. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't watch it on ITV Player.
Well, yeah, it's just because it's like it's easy to get ITV Hub, so I can just watch it on whatever machine. But I was just like, I went to watch it, and then every day I was checking. I was like, why the heck is it not there? Because it's only meant to be like 2 hours after it shows that it can go on there.
Really
outrageous. Sorry, I'll stop moaning about ITV now. But go on. So what's Impact?
A lot happened on this episode of Dynamite. We had Sting debut.
I did see spoilers for that.
I'm so lukewarm about that. Like,
I'm not as hot on it either. Like, I feel like everyone's losing their shit, and I'm a little bit like,
it's like 58.
I swear we saw this like a few years ago at WWE, and they did an all right job there.
Yeah,
he's not going to wrestle, is he? Is he going to?
Well, wrestle? I hope not.
If it was a good number of years ago, then maybe we might be hyped for it.
But either way, it's kind of interesting. I reckon he's probably going to manage Darby Allin. I don't feel like Sting has got management credentials.
No, I don't think Darby Allin needs it either.
No,
not really. No, I don't know how I feel about that, but it was a cool surprise, I guess. But
it was, yeah.
The big surprise being Kenny Omega heel turn
with Don Callis.
With Don Callis as well, running off with the AEW title into a black limo. I mean, it's Tuesday today, so
it will be tonight, won't it? Yeah.
You guys listen to this, you'll know the upshot of it, but I think this is the first time I'm very excited to actually try and watch an episode of Impact. So
yeah, I was way more excited about this than I was about the whole Sting thing, because it just it alludes to the whole thing about this sort of wider wrestling world, two different companies. It could be cool, man. It could be really cool.
Sort of seems like AEW hopefully will continue just to open up to any company apart from WWE affiliated ones.
It's an exciting time. It's great for Kenny Omega, who's kind of been there or thereabouts kind of as the best wrestler in the world, so it makes sense for him to be a champion. Can't wait to see what they're going to do with it.
It's a good match as well.
However, we are not here to talk about AEW. We are not here to talk about Impact. We're not even here to talk about Pat Patterson. We are here today to talk about NXT WarGames 2020, and we're going to discuss it right after this.
Ricochet. Oh! That's Black's on the apron. Hardest part of the ring.
Before we get started, I think my favourite thing about WarGames each year is just when William Regal announces it on the Tron. We're going to have a WarGames. It's great. I love the way the emphasis he puts in it. It's fantastic.
I'm so indifferent to the idea of a war game just because it just feels like such an American thing. Is it? Do we have war games over here?
No.
I
wonder if there's ever been a war games match on UK soil. That's great. Be a good thing to research. Wait, we're not going to do that now.
NXT WarGames 2020 held at the WWE Performance Center. Attendance was multiple screens of people and people there, I guess.
It seemed to be a lot more people there than previously. That was a lot.
Yeah. I quite like what they've done with the Performance Center with the chain link fencing and stuff. It feels a lot more Mortal Kombat-esque.
It feels really, with all those screens, like really close to the ring as well, isn't it?
It does,
the gap between the ring and that stuff is very small.
They've done a good job with it, which kind of makes me wonder why you would want to go see the Thunderdome when this looks so much more impressive. But I suppose it depends on what you're looking for. Comms team of Vic Joseph, Wade Barrett, and Beth Phoenix.
Beth Phoenix still doing it distance, isn't she? I think she's not there, right?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Beth Phoenix very much going off on one the whole time about how much of an opportunistic wrestler Pat McAfee is, which is sort of ironic considering she's married to Edge. Not sure how I feel about the comms team. I feel like they're still finding their feet, to be honest.
I like Wade Barrett. There's something about his voice. He's like an old bouncer. You know?
I'm not au fait with this comms team.
I don't mind Wade Barrett. I think he's a good kind of colour commentator. I think Vic Joseph is just another Michael Cole clone.
Yeah, he's almost exactly like Cole. He's all right, but he's very bland. He's no Phillips. Come on.
But the card for WarGames 2020, and normally I would do this, but since I'm hosting, I'm going to just drop it on one of you guys to do.
I'll do it.
Nice.
Oh, that's good, because that first Mexican wrestler's name scared me a bit. I was like, oh man, I'm going to fuck that up big time.
Pre-show, we had Legado del Fantasma versus Kurt Stallion, Ashanti the Adonis, and August Gray. I did not watch that. I tried to, but it's so difficult to scan on the PlayStation. I just got annoyed.
My version of the WWE Network doesn't even work on my PlayStation.
It never remembers when I'm halfway through stuff. Like if I'm halfway through like an episode or something, it never remembers where I am.
It is super sketchy. You cannot skip forward, skip backwards. You cannot do anything apart from hit play and watch.
Yeah.
If WWE are working for Amazon to advertise their Fire Sticks, they're doing a great job of it by just making their PlayStation app so shit.
Yep.
Yes. So, right, onto the main card. We had Team Lorray, which was Candice, Dakota Kai, Toni Storm, and Raquel Gonzalez, versus Team Blackheart, which is Shotzi Blackheart, Ember Moon, Rhea Ripley, and Io Shirai. We then have Timothy Thatcher versus Tommaso Ciampa. That's followed with Dexter Lumis versus Cameron Grimes in a strap match. Then we had a triple threat for the North American title, which was Leon Ruff versus Johnny Gargano versus Damian Priest. And finally, the last WarGames match, which was Undisputed Era versus the Kings of NXT, which... Do I need to say all those people? I guess I should.
Yeah, just for completionist sake, let's go for it. Let's see if you can
So
remember.
impressive, because this isn't written down either, listeners.
No, that's why I ignored it. So we had Undisputed Era, which is Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish, versus the Kings of NXT, which is Pat McAfee, Bruiserweight, Pete Dunne, Danny Burch, and Oni Lorcan.
That was very impressive.
Yeah.
If this was a quiz, I would have given you 8 points for that.
Is it also
8
time to call
points.
Pete Dunne Buffweight?
Buffweight.
Yeah.
Super sexy Pete Dunne. I
He
wasn't
looks
sure
amazing
with the new physique, but watching this, it was just, looks like a stud.
Like top to bottom, like arms, legs, chest, everything looks amazing.
The man is a bronze god.
Yeah, the fake tan needs a bit of work. It looks a little jaundiced.
Key matches. We're going to discuss the women's wargame match and the men's wargame match, followed up by our usual plethora of bits and pieces we do on the pod. So we'll start with the women's wargame match. Team Lorray, Candice, Dakota, Toni, and Raquel versus Shotzi, Ember, Rhea, and Io. John, what did you think?
Yeah, I love this match. I thought it was a great way to kick off the pay-per-view. Is it a pay-per-view? I suppose it's still a pay-per-view. Beforehand, I kind of had it in my head that this was the match between the sort of two women they've been pushing a lot recently, like Blackheart and Gonzalez. Like both of those have been super over and been really heavily pushed. And they both had amazing matches, especially Gonzalez. She looked so strong in this. Like it's a load of big power stuff. And she got the pin at the end to win it for Candice's team.
Just any old pin as well. A pin on Io.
Yeah, on the champ. No, is she the champ?
Yeah,
she's the champ.
Yeah, she is the champ.
Oh, actually, speaking of standouts, Io was amazing in this match. Like the way she entered the...
Really?
Did you not like Io in this?
I didn't dislike Io, but I just feel like I don't think they made her look like a very competent champion in this match. Like, she was very much taking a beating from a lot of people, and she didn't look incredibly strong.
I think the whole Gonzalez preventing her from entering the cage in the first place as well.
I quite like that.
No, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it, but like you say, like, you know, the champ can't even get in the cage.
But it was also a bit weird because obviously they couldn't even win because they need her in the cage for the match to start, which is the bonkers thing about a WarGames match, is that you have to watch 20 minutes of it before it even starts.
Yeah, I noticed that rule a couple of times in both these WarGames matches when I was watching them, because I was thinking, all this right now is a bit pointless.
Yeah, it's just fluff.
Like, I know it's about upper hands, but also actually once everyone's in, and this is wrestling, you know, the balance tips both ways in the scale, so it's like it sort of is just filler.
Yeah, that's sort of how I feel about the WarGames matches a little bit. I think kind of it's a little bit like when you're watching a 2 out of 3 falls match, you're never going to see a kind of a 2-0 clean sweep. And
Yeah,
it just kind of, it makes you just feel a little bit like, okay, can we just kind of get on with it a little bit? But the match itself was filled with amazing spots.
yeah, totally crazy
what was
stuff.
your favourite, Brett?
Oh, well, I'm going to go for the obvious one. There's not a more amazing picture in professional wrestling than a bin with legs flying from the top of the cage onto a crowd of people.
That was a bonkers spot.
Visually, it just looked incredible. That camera angle, just so good.
For those of you who listen to our podcast but don't watch the wrestling but expect us to pray-see what happened, Io Shirai climbs up the cage with a dustbin, places the dustbin over her, and then jumps into a crowd of her teammates and enemies.
Yes. Can I say, could we, because I didn't notice her climbing it at any point, because if she did climb it with a bin in hand, that's impressive.
Oh yeah, in my head, she was climbing it with the bin already on her, which would be much harder.
Either way, I think that's tricky.
There's another spot after that as well where Dakota Kai did the stomp on top of her while she was still in the bin. That looked nasty as fuck. That was so nasty.
It's so good.
Especially as like she couldn't get the bin off her.
No, I think she was properly pinned inside it.
Very much leaves it open for my favourite spot of the match, which was seeing Ember Moon perform the Eclipse on Dakota Kai while she was draped over a couple of chairs.
Yeah.
It looked very painful. I mean, the Eclipse already is a great finisher.
Yeah, really good.
But to see it utilised with weapons is just absolutely beautiful.
Shout out for Dakota Kai as well, because she was phenomenal in this match. She was in it from the start, and she was involved in all the cool big stuff. I feel like in NXT at the moment, she's kind of taking that sort of Andrade role, you know, where all the people 100%. Sort of... She's the person you have to beat to sort of start your rise in NXT, really.
Yeah.
For my money at the moment, Dakota Kai is the best women's wrestler in NXT currently. I'm really enjoying everything she's doing. I think kind of wrestling-wise, she's always going to bring a very high level of kind of performance, but story-wise, ever since she's turned on Tegan Nox and turned heel, I think she's been probably one of the highlights of NXT over the last year.
Yeah, I can go with that. Although, in this match, I don't really think anyone let themselves down. I think they all did great. I mean, Tony Storm coming in, hitting a German, hits a Storm Zero onto a trash can. Like, Rhea Ripley, when she entered and started clearing house, it felt like suddenly the momentum and the pace picked up, and it got super exciting at that point.
I do have a slight problem with this, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Rhea Ripley came into the ring, went into the toolbox and pulled out what I think is the Bludgeon Brothers fake hammer.
Yes.
It's a lot smaller though.
Yeah, a lot smaller.
I believe a fake hammer or a gimmicked hammer was involved in this match.
Oh, well, and I think a gimmicked wrench as well.
I'd rather it be gimmicked and they can actually look like they're hitting them rather than doing the Triple H hand over the thing, though.
Same.
That's true.
Same. I enjoyed that just being slammed across the back rather than...
Sorry, John's playing with his wind chime.
Sorry.
I personally, I'm kind of in a bit of a weird middle ground here where I'm like, if you're going to use a weapon that's so ridiculous it has to be fake, at least make it something that's super funny, like a giant sword or, something which, I don't know. The hammer, it was a bit too of a middle ground for me.
I sort of get what you're saying, but like for me, you know, the fact that it was actually fully hit across someone, I was just like, I'm okay with the gimmicked hammer.
Me too. I was down with it.
So yeah, a very spot heavy match, this whole thing. I think everyone, as Brett, you said, kind of got their moment. I think the night ultimately belonged to Raquel Gonzalez, who picked up Io and one-handed powerbombed her from the second rope through a ladder.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that looked painful.
Poor
and then
Io.
when she dragged her off it afterwards for the pin, I was just like, oh my days.
Pinned her 1, 2, 3. I think it's the right move for the heels to go over here. It feels like WarGames in recent times, or ever since they brought it back, has been too much of a vehicle for faces to go over.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see kind of heel strategy and heel tactics kind of pay off. And I personally think that the Team LeRae had the stronger wrestling team than Team Blackheart, who I'm still not 100% convinced by Shotzi Blackheart.
I like the gimmick. I think she looks cool and acts cool. But yeah, I understand what you mean. I'm still not 100% behind her.
She had a great spot though off the ladder with the senton.
Senton, yeah, onto the chairs, was it?
Onto Candice.
Yeah.
One specific spot I think was made a little bit poor by Candice LeRae, specifically sandwiching herself between two chairs very awkwardly and very slowly.
Commentator did a really good job of that, saying that she did that on purpose so that Shotzi got the hit of the chair as well to protect herself.
Sure. I mean, I suppose if you look a bit deeply into it, you could say, why would you not just roll out of the way?
Because you want to do damage. You want to damage your opponent. It's WarGames, Sam.
Okay. I'm not going to try and defend this madness. But yeah, so the heels go over. Big win for all of them. It's interesting to see where it all goes next. I'm expecting this is going to be the start of a bit of a push for Raquel Gonzalez, who perhaps is going to take a step away from being an enforcer for Dakota Kai.
Yeah, because obviously she's got the pin on Io, so she could legitimately say, I deserve a shot at Io, but obviously as she is the bodyguard of Dakota, does she have to go through Dakota first? Do they have to split those two up?
It's a Virgil and $1 Million Man situation right there.
Exactly the same. Yep.
Very similar. And so we'll move on to the men's WarGame match, the main event, I suppose. So this was the Undisputed Era: Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, Bobby Fish versus the Kings of NXT, Pat McAfee, Pete Dunne, and the NXT Tag Team Champions Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. Brett, do you want to kick us off? What did you think of the match?
I really enjoyed this match as well, and I loved that actually this match was different to the women's match because there was lots of spots and lots of weapons and etc. in the women's match, but in the men's match there was a lot of grappling. There wasn't so many weapons.
Yeah, there was a lot of grappling, wasn't there? Actually?
Yeah, there was, and you know, so it just had a totally different flavour. But yeah. Kyle O'Reilly and Pete Dunne kicking this off with like some just sublime mat work and you know, sort of equaling each other in that part was just amazing. I just thought those guys throughout this whole WarGames match were top notch.
Yeah, just like Dakota was the MVP in the women's one, like Kyle O'Reilly and Pete Dunne were the MVPs of the men's one. They were all over the place. They were amazing.
Yeah,
Kyle O'Reilly has been on a tear in recent times, ever since his kind of almost his rise up into a more singles competitor side of things. He's been really on the ball.
It was nice seeing him being vocal in this as well, you know, because like he's more being in Undisputed Era. They've all had Adam Cole as the mouthpiece, and they sort of just do the, you know, the gang member in the back sort of in promo stuff, but seeing him be more vocal and actually have that whole taunting Pat McAfee across, you know, it was good to see him have that different level to him.
I actually wonder, and perhaps there's a larger discussion about what the future holds for Undisputed Era, because I honestly think it's time to break them up.
I thought before this match, I thought they were going to lose this, and it would be the start of that.
I don't think there's anything left for them to achieve on the NXT roster as a stable. They've done everything. They've the most dominant stable to have ever come through the through NXT at all. Full stop.
Yeah.
And like they've proven that kind of there's more to that stable than just Adam Cole and his 3 henchmen.
Yeah, it's an amazing stable, and each one of them is like an amazing wrestler.
Yeah,
you know. So, I mean, it did absolute wonders for Roderick Strong, and his character work and stuff, because in ring absolutely flawless, but like obviously was a bit wooden outside of it, and that's just brought a real great character for him to, you know, continue with, or maybe develop a bit afterwards as well. Sure. Like this was one of my things with watching the pay-per-view as a whole, is like, you know, really the only thing for these guys to do is to step up, but that's not really happening anymore.
I think Adam Cole has potential to be like one of the top champs in WWE, but he's just too small, I think, for Vince.
Yeah.
You're not seeing that like yearly. I don't think anyway. You're not seeing that yearly sort of progression of draft. You know, rising to the top of NXT and then onto the main roster.
In fact, what we're seeing at the moment is the other way. Like, people want to go back to NXT.
Yeah,
indeed.
Which is leaving it bloated.
Yeah.
But yes, and then obviously on the other side of the coin, we have the Kings of NXT, Pat McAfee, Pete Dunne, and the NXT champions, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. Where to start on this? Obviously, Pat McAfee's second match ever, and he performs an absolutely flawless moonsault through a chair.
An incredible moonsault.
Through the table, yeah.
Through a table, sorry, not a chair. That would be even more impressive. Just through the little hole in the chair.
Pinpoint precision. I did find, though, like you say with him, he had like, so the moonsault spot, the swanton spot, you know, he could do that. When he was doing all the rest of the stuff in the ring, it wasn't so good.
No, this is the impression I get from Pat McAfee as well, is that I feel like he's someone who's learnt to run before he can walk.
If he's going to continue in wrestling, he's going to be a Shane McMahon. You know, do the big spots.
Done him well, though, hasn't it? I guess.
Yeah, but do the big spots, but not be able to do the small stuff in between. Yeah, you know, that glue quickly, a match together as a great wrestler.
Has it done Shane McMahon well? Would you want to be Shane McMahon?
No,
a person who has to jive off 40-foot cages to get his father's approval.
Yeah, good point. Good point. With McAfee though, like, I hate him. Like, he's such a good heel.
Yeah,
like, I really don't like
I hate him.
His sports show looks awful.
I love to hate him. He's a perfect heel for that, because he's everything that wrestling fans hate about wrestling.
Yeah.
In the fact that he's not a wrestler, and he's turned up and he's basically making it look easy. And that's such a perfect combination for a heel to do, to basically turn up and be like, wrestling, it's stupid, I could do this. And then it's like, oh, he actually can do this, and it's really impressive to watch. It makes you hate him so much. And I think kind of it's very exciting to see what happens with him. But I think kind of, you know, it's probably time to start... if they're going to make a real run of it with McAfee, I think kind of it'd be interesting to see where they're going next now.
Yeah, I don't know whether he's going to be... Yeah, whether he's there long term or whether it's just this little stint. I feel like he's probably going to be there a bit longer.
Yeah. I don't want to see more of him, to be honest.
He's still burned by Ronda.
Yes, totally. Although I thought she was legit good, whereas I think this guy can do a high spot. I don't think he could do much else.
But his match with Adam Cole at wherever it was decent.
I don't really remember much. I remember him hitting a couple of big spots in that though as well.
Yeah, and plus it's against
probably
Adam Cole,
sways you.
Right? Yeah, I think Adam Cole could look good wrestling me.
I think also what I was most upset and kept on thinking throughout this match is, I wish this was British Strong Style.
So this is part of my issue with this match, is I don't rate Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch as credible tag champions.
They're such a good team. I like those guys.
I like that.
Only Lorcan especially. I think he's brilliant.
They never pitched them
certainly...
as tag champions. I'll give you that. But I think those two worked their asses off into that position in great matches. In great matches.
So 100%, I'd give you like any day of the week that kind of they have worked hard and they've earned a tag team spot. And I just feel currently, I don't think they would be tag team champions if it wasn't for this kind of stable versus stable setup.
Yeah.
And so it kind of makes me wonder, have they cheapened the tag team titles by basically almost like throwing it in with the equation of Pat McAfee and his Merry Men versus Undisputed Era? Because now we've had this big team versus team match. You've got to wonder what the future holds for this whole thing. Yeah,
because you kind of... Actually, the Grizzled Young Vets came back recently, didn't they? They're kind of more... would be better suited for that position.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is unfortunately my point to it, because I don't dislike Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, but I just feel like you could almost put any tag team into that position and it would work.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm showing my lack of, potentially watching NXT UK, but where is Tyler Bate right now?
Yeah.
Is he wrestling? Is he on NXT UK? Like,
I have no idea, mate.
It's like, I mean, it's amazing to see Pete Dunne do so well, but I actually thought Tyler was the better of those two, and he's just gone AWOL.
Yeah. So, yeah, obviously the match itself it very much goes Undisputed Era's way. There's key spots to really bring out there were probably two for me. The first being Pat McAfee having tables for each member of the Undisputed Era. And at first you believe, okay, this is cool. They're going to put each one through their respective table. So they set up Roderick Strong. They put a nice powerbomb through a table. And it's like, okay, cool. And then the subsequent three tables, I believe all of the Kings of NXT went through.
Yeah, I remember Fish put someone through his table. Can't remember who it was, though.
I believe Pete Dunne and possibly Danny Burch both got put through the same table by Bobby Fish. And then I think Pat McAfee just dived about 3/4 of the way through the ring. Yeah. Through another one.
What was interesting about this WarGames, because normally once the last person enters, it's usually not a long match after that point. It usually wraps up quite quickly. But this felt like as soon as McAfee came in, the last guy, it was a long time before the actual pin happened. Like they were fighting it out for ages.
Yeah.
It was carnage.
Yeah. And the pin itself, when it came, was an unexpected one.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, we had Danny Burch pull out a cricket bat, 2 cricket bats. I popped hard for this because I love a bit of cricket.
Even though they're gimmicked cricket bats there, Sam.
Yeah, they seemed incredibly lightweight.
They
could have been balsa wood cricket bats. But then Danny Burch chatted a bit of shit about cricket and
did he?
Upset me. He said cricket was boring, and I was just like, you've obviously not watched Ben Stokes play.
Yeah, it's part of the joy of it.
But luckily, kind of, Vic Joseph said, I'm going to try and quote without kind of quoting here because I'm bad at my job. But Vic Joseph was saying he was like Casey Jones from Turtles, who, am I right in thinking, wore a hockey mask and used a baseball bat?
Yeah, or just a general...
I thought he had a hockey stick.
Hockey,
yeah.
Was it a hockey
I think
stick?
he used all sorts of stuff, like just general...
I never saw him with a cricket bat, and Wade Barrett called him out on it.
Yeah.
So good for Wade.
See? My boy Wade.
This is why you need a British commentator, because cricket bats are a good weapon in wrestling.
They're so heavy.
They're great in cricket as well, and cricket's fun and good, and we should watch more cricket.
Hardest part of the wicket coming soon.
Yeah.
Shaking his head.
No. Big no over here.
So the final part for me to talk about, which I really enjoyed, was the point when the Kings of NXT were kind of pinned up against the cage and everyone was just taking a turn doing the train of attacks to each member. It was
that was awesome. There was one move that, like, it wasn't a big spot or anything, but Roddy Strong sort of did, like, I don't know if it was like an X-plex or a release suplex on Pete Dunne into the air, and he absolutely launched him upwards, and then he came down onto like the double knees backbreaker, and it just looked superhuman. Like, it was just in the midst of other shit going down, and Roddy just like fucking throws Pete Dunne a mile in the air and hits this backbreaker. It just looked awesome. And I think it just probably went totally under the radar because loads of shit was going on.
There was so many moments. It was just a solid match.
A lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
We're going to move on to best of the rest. I'm going to start because I'm a rebel. Let's have a quick chat about Leon Ruff, North American champion, versus Johnny Gargano versus Damian Priest.
Yeah, I have to say, this is the first heel Johnny Gargano match. I was like, yes, he's a heel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found moments in that strange though, like Damian Priest's being all like remorseful after chucking Leon Ruff through the barricade.
His character is all over the place.
It was just like super weird.
I like it, but all over the place.
I mean, if they go fully into this, like, you know, I guess gaslighting, you know, arsehole who's like, you know, beating on Leon Ruff 1 minute and then saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry," when he's like getting hit by Johnny Gargano the next. It was just weird.
I think this is exactly what I enjoyed about it. Is this is the crystallized kind of, oh, they're turning him face. I get it now.
Yeah,
sort of. Yeah,
I enjoyed this match a lot. There was a bit with Johnny Gargano did like a dummy super kick. Did you see that? He like dummied a super kick and then just kicked him in the gut. And it looked amazing. That was so cool.
Yeah, this match was a short but sweet one for me. It was just kind of... I really enjoyed seeing kind of the storyline play out with Leon Ruff as well, kind of getting involved, who is... he is a really impressive wrestler.
Yeah.
And he held his own, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else they do with him in NXT, because I think there's more than a kind of a James Ellsworth kind of jobber role there, which I think... I'd be very interested to see what he does. Yeah,
it played really well into the story of this match because obviously, like, Priest and Gargano were kind of didn't see him as a threat at all. Like, they're more interested in getting one over on each other than sort of what he could do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was cool. What I loved as well is when Ruff went through the barrier and the barrier in the background also fell over.
yeah, purely because like one of the people watching just like ran across to the other side and like knocked it, and then they were like, "Oh shit!"
Funny. It's really good. I think kind of what I like about Leon Ruff is that he reminds me a lot of Spike Dudley. And I do mean that in the most positive of ways, because I really like Spike Dudley back in the Attitude Era.
I was going to say, that is a rough comparison.
I don't think he ever got his dues, little Spike, but I thought he was a great member of the Dudley Boys. Brett, what was your best of the rest?
Oh, my best rest. I'm just going to go back to a moment that I missed in the women's match. And my best of rest is the cameraman who caught the angle of the shot where Rhea Ripley had like entered and done a bit of beating people up, and she'd faced off with Gonzalez, but then they didn't actually go at each other. And then Gonzalez was on the other ring, sort of just clearing out a couple of people with clotheslines, and then the camera sort of just moves behind Rhea Ripley, and then Gonzalez is there in perfect eye shot, and they got each other's like facing off across the ring, and I just thought, great camera work.
Calling out some great camera work from WWE is an absolute rarity that we'll always welcome.
I feel we've done it quite a few times recently, though.
I think they're getting these spots without an audience a little bit better.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe that is it.
Credit to WWE for that. John, what was your best of the rest?
This is a bit of a weird one, but I love the fact they actually paid money for War Pigs by Black Sabbath.
Yes. I should have said that as well. I loved it. I was like, yes, some great music that we're getting repeated again and again.
Not some terrible new metal band.
Yeah.
God, we nearly came to blows there. I thought you were going to say not some terrible new metal band, and I was going to tell you to step off.
I'm all for original new metal, just not new metal that's coming out today.
Okay, that's fine. What's the latest date for new metal? Is it 2004? Is that like the cutoff?
I would say 2003 actually, probably.
I was going to say maybe even earlier.
I didn't even know there was new metal.
But it's spelt with like a U. It's NU.
Yeah.
space NU space metal.
Oh, it is spelt
Right?
No, I was just as in NEW new metal.
Okay.
NU.
Right. Oh, okay. Cool. So sorry, Timothy Thatcher. Sorry, Tommaso Ciampa, but
Yeah,
I didn't
don't
like that
no.
match.
Me either.
No,
I thought I was
okay,
going to
right.
love it as well.
Yeah, me
but-
too.
let's
Worst of the
transition
rest.
into worst of the rest then. I thought this match was decent, but no, guys, lay it on me. What's the matter with Timothy Thatcher versus Tommaso
It just
Ciampa?
didn't gel with me at all. I just couldn't get into this match. It was really hard hitting. I love the fact there was blood, and I like the stare down at the end. But there's something about Timothy Thatcher where I feel like he's one of those wrestlers that I feel like I should like, but I don't.
I feel like they've not made him look very strong so far. I feel like
No.
they've kind of just made him look a little bit like lower mid.
He tapped out to Kushida recently, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh my
He's-
days! And considering his shtick, his gimmick is like being a hard hitting grappler.
Yeah.
You know, he is like he'll wrestle you into dust.
It's not the way he moves as well. It's kind of, he's quite gangly in a weirdly muscular way, and he kind of skulking around. Like, something about it makes me feel creepy, and I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I know this is bad podcast material, but there's just something about it.
No, that's cool.
Are they still doing that? Was it Raw or SmackDown After Dark? You know,
Yeah,
I think they've quietly shelved that. Actually.
Yeah.
because he would look good on that.
he would look good on that.
Oh,
Speaking of creepy, let's talk about Dexter Loomis versus Cameraman Grimes.
Can we talk about Loomis? Because we talk about like Damien Priest's character being all over the place, and maybe this is probably me, and it doesn't really matter at all. But is Loomis a good guy or is he a bad guy?
He's like a Stranger Things bad guy, isn't he? He's like, you know.
Oh, is he? I thought he was a Stranger Things kind of good guy, but
I thought he was like, you know, well, because he looks like a neo-Nazi,
He does. He
doesn't
totally looks like a Nazi.
So, like, he's all like Stranger Things, like neo-Nazi, like, you know, he's a bad guy.
Like an alt-right YouTuber. That's what he looks like.
Yes.
but he doesn't conduct himself like an alt-right YouTuber, does he? He seems to basically find heels and just kind of fuck with them.
Yeah, which is also weird. Like, if he's leaning into this sort of cinematic horror, you know, the way he creeps around, moves and stuff, like, be the bad guy. Just like, not even like just take out heels or faces, just take out everyone.
Yeah, be a bit more indiscriminate.
Yeah, like, you know.
I actually quite like Dexter Loomis, what they've done with him so far. I think kind of it's one of the more interesting parts of NXT, but this match for me kind of just did not interest me at all. And I'm not happy that they changed the rules of the strap match to pinfall and submission rather than touching all 4 turnbuckles.
Is that really? I didn't know that was the rules in the strap match.
I swear that used to be the rules, is you've got to be strapped to your opponent and touch all 4 turnbuckles.
Oh wow, that's weird.
Sounds like musical chairs, not a wrestling
Yeah.
match.
Yeah.
That's what you wanted. I want a strap match with a couple of chairs and music.
Please, can any listeners write in and just correct me if I'm wrong on that one? I'm sure that's what a strap match used to be. If only we had Adam to Wikipedia things for us. And so we've more or less discussed everything, really.
Yep.
Covered all the matches, other than the pre-show, which we're not too fussed about. Let's get a star performer. John.
It's got to be the Buffweight, Pete Dunne. I'm trying to get that to catch on, Buffweight. Hashtag Buffweight.
I'm not sure. Beauty weight?
Anyway, Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne is my star performer.
Pete Dunne. Brett?
Yeah, I'm gonna second that, Pete Dunne. Let's go for the home.
Nice. I'm going to say Raquel Gonzalez has earned it this time. She definitely outperformed herself. And that sort of brings us to the overall rank. Now, this is possibly one of the more interesting overall ranks that I think we're going to do, because for all intents and purposes, I don't believe this pay-per-view did anything particularly wrong. I think kind of it hit all the right notes and it had a series of good matches. But there was something that kind of felt a little bit incoherent for me. across the whole pay-per-view, where it just kind of felt like a lot of the matches didn't really matter.
It is very non-consequential, isn't it? Like, I think there was only one title match, right? That was the North American title.
Yeah.
The WarGames weren't followed by it or any sort of prestige. Just because people had beef with each other.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I like the WarGames to feel like an exclamation point at the end of a feud, and I don't feel like the women's WarGames match was more or less just the heels versus the faces. There was no real team element to that beyond what we had, and the men's match is a kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, because on the one hand we don't want to see more Pat McAfee and friends versus Undisputed Era, but on the other hand it's kind of like we don't really know where any of these guys now go from here.
I do think they're keeping the Undisputed Era together just so they can keep doing WarGames each year.
It's very possible. And so for that, I'm going to be giving this a 6 out of 10.
Ooh.
I've shown my working out, Adam, so please don't text me. Brett, where do you stand?
Feathers. I'm going to totally back you up, Sam. There was a lot to like in this, but there was also a lot that just didn't grab me. To be honest, apart from the WarGames matches, the other matches just weren't. They just weren't up to NXT Takeover. I mean, maybe it's because they set the bar so high early on, and now they're just dropping. But I think there's an issue between, bloated roster, like too many new people, too many people that haven't moved on. So like, where do we fit everyone? I'm gonna go 6 again.
Ooh, I'm gonna be a little bit more optimistic. I'm gonna go 7.5.
Well,
he's got that extra 0.5 because there's 2 6s. He's like, I've got to go a little bit more.
NXT Takeover WarGames 2020, 6.5 out of 10. That's
probably harsh. I don't know.
It does feel a little harsh, but at the same time, I feel like it's harsh because we expect more from NXT to kind of be one of the trendsetters and the bar setters for wrestling in general.
Yeah, it was like it used to be. Every match was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's still good, but it's just not to that standard.
No,
I think this is the thing: is that I feel like in the war of NXT versus AEW have started to sort of pull away a little bit.
Yeah, I think they've been very unlucky with injuries as well. NXT, obviously, you got Killian Cross getting injured after he got the championship. Finn Balor,
yeah, of course,
yeah,
and so that's it for NXT. That's it forever. We're done. NXT, done. We've scored it 6.5 out of 10.
Now they're on the ring apron.
This is a dangerous spot in the ring, Morrow. The hardest part of the ring, nothing but steel underneath their feet.
Of course, unless other people have opinions on that, John.
Yes, so listeners have been in touch. We asked for highlights and lowlights, and we got a few responses. So, Graham Hughes, long-time contributor. The WarGames match format for me is by far the best in WWE. They always provide a string of highlight reel moments and its edge of the seat throughout. EO and the trash can entry to the ring was brilliant. Dunne looked every inch a true, mean, lean bruiserweight. There were some brutal spots in the men's match, and they all looked like they had been through a war. Every match on the card was worth watching and showed everyone's strengths. To pick a lowlight would be Ruff losing his belt. See, Graham likes it a lot more than you guys did.
It's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree with Graham at all. I think that's the crazy thing about it is when you're scoring a pay-per-view low just because you're not invested in the overall story as opposed to the match quality, I think it's indicative of a larger problem with the product.
Yeah. Okay. We've also had a guy called Scotland 2021 winners. I think he's a football fan.
Ambitious.
Thought when they kept EO out the ring was fun, but the match itself was a lopsided but entertaining mess. Grimy versus Loomis was meh. The freeway was fun. I missed the final match. Final match was good. Go watch it. It was good.
Definitely go watch it. You'll enjoy it more than any kind of Scotland football.
That's one listener we've lost. Wrestle plug. Highlight was everything. Low light was nothing. Wow, see, positive
Wow.
stuff. Got one more comment. Let me just get it up. From A. Richardson from Burgess Hill.
Oh, that jobber.
Loved the women's war match in the end. Had to watch it while working, but once they were all in, I was glued to it. Some amazing spots and some big bumps. The bin bit was with EO was amazing. Funny, stupid and brutal. Final ladder spot was crazy. Bravo to all involved. Men's war games. Pat McAfee is going to kill himself. Amazing performance from Dunne. Loved that he's a war games veteran now. Some very bland vanilla opinions there.
Yeah, not the kind that we welcome on here. There was actually another message from Adam Richardson that just said, Brett, P45 your desk tonight. So, one to look forward to. Brett, if
Yes.
you don't want to have a P45, how do people get in touch to tell us to not send you one?
They can send their emails to hardestpartofthering@gmail.com, or they can find us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. We are at Hardest Part Pod.
Thank you, and thank you, listener. We are listener singular.
Both your parents
we
listen,
did-
Sam. We've got at least 2. Come on.
We did have 3, but one of them was a Scotland fan who I may have made fun of. But that's it from me. Goodbye, Brett.
Bye.
Goodbye, John.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from Sam. That was the hardest part of the ring.
That is the hardest part of that ring.
For the hardest